Laura Ingraham Show.
We have a lot to get to. We're going to talk to Ed Rollins, one of our absolute favorites, here on the Laura Ingraham Show. Of course, he led the Reagan-Bush 84 campaign. We're getting lots of emails, by the way, speaking of Reagan-Bush, about our interview with Craig Shirley yesterday. Do we have that online, Drew? Can you make sure it is? Is it on our website? Okay. So Craig Shirley did just a retrospective on Pearl Harbor and his book, December 1941, about, was it 28 days that changed our entire foreign policy, our approach to the military and our standing in the world, and everything changed in those 28 days. And I think it's 28 days. I might be getting the days wrong, but incredible book. And so we've got a lot of reaction to that. So if you want to listen to that, go to lauraingraham.com and check it out. You'll enjoy it. What does this tell you about what happens when government gets out of the way? Not that government should do nothing, not that we should have no environmental regulations. No one's saying that. But when government gets off the shoulders of the business creators, the job creators, the business entrepreneurs, what happens? Magic happens. That's when all the good stuff happens. And I'm telling you, even in Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia, people seem to be in a better mood. Even the people, I know a lot of people are upset about Trump. I just get the sense that people are in a better mood. Now, James, where do you live? Maryland, right?
No, I'm in Northern Virginia.
Oh, you're in Virginia.
I'm in Ashburn.
People are in better moods.
I've
noticed this.
I feel like a burden has almost been taken off their shoulders. I don't know if it's just because the election is over, but everyone's got a little bit more of a pep in their step.
Yeah, and I think it's Christmas, and so people like that. But you get the sense the stock market's surging. I really want to go back and try to find all those sound bites of people who said the market was going to crash if Trump won. The market, the banks, everyone's dreading the possibility of, even the small possibility of Donald Trump being president. You remember that? All these people, by the way, do you notice how they all act like they were right all along now? These people go on television like they were predicting Trump was going to win. I've never seen anything like it. It's gone up 1,200 points since the Trump victory. I told my guy to buy stocks that night. He didn't do it. To this day, he's like, we don't do it that way. We don't try to time the market. He's still saying that to me. And God bless him, I love him. But the one time, Drew will laugh, the one time where I'm right about when to get into the market, my guy doesn't listen to me. The one time, I'm always getting it wrong. I have to stay away from my portfolio, which is not that big, but I got to stay away. The one time he no, we don't try to time the market. What? It's ridiculous. But do you guys notice this? That people seem to be in a better mood. I noticed this in Connecticut over the weekend, and it was not because all of my classmates from Glastonbury High School class of 81 wasn't because they were all, liquored up at the reunion. But I noticed this in the town. I noticed this on the flights. The flight attendants, what's really funny? The flight attendants keep coming up to me going, thank you so much for what you did. I really appreciate it. I said, I didn't do anything. Yes, thank you. I said, why are you whispering? Well, you never know who's listening. I said, it's okay to be outwardly for Trump now.
And then out loud, they're like, would you like a pillow? Like looking around.
Right now, pillows cost you $25 on some of these airlines. Pillow, that's like asking for a new kidney. You can't get a pillow on most flights. But people seem like they're in a better mood. And even the liberal in my class, Stephanie, I won't give her last name. I really like her. You seem like you're in a better mood now on TV. Oh, it was on knife's edge for a while there, Chiquita. I mean, we thought the country could be on the verge of going right down the tube. So it was the adrenaline was pumping, and also that's a situation where your adrenaline is and then all of a sudden, it drains the adrenaline from you. That's a weird feeling. Like it's postpartum depression. This is post-election elation. Postpartum, the hormones change. Post-election elation, except for all those people still need therapy dogs.
I have not felt an environment of positive optimism where forces are converging to provide for a better environment in quite a while.
The belief that the U.S. economy can grow at least 3.5% also adds to what the company, U.S. Steel, could do. This was an interview he did on CNBC's power lunch. And she's like, I'd be more than happy to bring these employees back. That we've been forced to lay off these people during a very difficult economic period for America.
It could be close to 10,000.
What do you think that's going to do for Pennsylvania, Ohio? What do you think it's going to do to these? Indiana? These are real jobs. Oh, he can't bring jobs back? How many headlines? Go count the Google search. Jobs can't come back. Once the jobs are gone, they can never come back. How many times have we seen that headline? Probably on CNBC, by the way. They're gone. It's robots. We're all robots now. The robots are doing everything. The robots are going to, help us go to the bathroom soon. The robots. If I hear one more thing about the robots, I don't like these robots. I don't like the robots. I don't like then the sex robots. They got the robots doing it. That's weird. DiCaprio snuck into the Trump Tower. Yeah, he went in. I know how he went in, too. He went through the garage, and there's a side staircase. I tried to do that. They wouldn't let me do that. I had to go through the regular door. How does Leo get to go? He didn't want that. He didn't want that. He didn't want to be on the live cam. Is that right? What are we going to learn from Leo? What are we going to learn from him? Climate change? I don't think so. This could be the biggest head fake of them all. Bring in old Gore. Bring in old Leo. Well, Hillary should have brought Leo in the last days of her campaign. Well, why? Well, because of Titanic. Well, that would have been an appropriate guess for the Hillary campaign. It's going down to its bubbly grave underwater. Do you notice this about people being in a better mood? I just couldn't be happier. We did our tree last night. We decorated the tree, which was fun. We only broke a couple ornaments, I think that's a record for us. Do you guys make ornaments for your tree? Have you ever done that? Do you ever do that, Drew, in your little make ornaments? Or you just buy the ones from China?
I did when I was buy the ones from China.
Yeah, they're all made in China.
I did when I was younger, but that kind of grows away. But your kids are about the perfect age.
We got to make some ornaments. Yeah. Did you ever string popcorn? James, you ever string popcorn on your tree?
James doing that.
No, we never strung the popcorn thing, but we always decorated the tree every year, and we did hand make ornaments as well. You'd have like where you put the little photo in, you paint them, and all that kind of stuff. That was fun.
We made a lot of ornaments out of toilet paper rolls. We made toy soldiers, and I still have one my brother Brooks made. You ready for this? 1968.
Wow.
He had the gold cord that he cut, made the eyes, had the felt. You have to go to one of those craft shops, and you get this. We need to do that. When I see these ornaments, you cannot buy. It's really difficult to find bulbs that are made in the United States. The big glass bulbs, you can get them at craft stores. They're hand blown. Those are like $30 a pop. Who can afford that? But I went back and I actually had a box of hooks. You will not believe this. This is so dated. I found a box of hooks, and they were the heavy-duty hooks, really good hooks that are, the heavier wire. You ready for this? In Glastonbury, Connecticut, at W.T. Grant. It's a store that probably went out of business 45 years ago. W.T. Grant, it's a kind of a five and dime kind of store. I still had the packet of hooks, 17 cents. And they're heavy hooks. Then I said to gal who helps me, I said, could you get some more hooks from the CVS? She brings those hooks. Those are cheapo hooks. You have a heavy ornament, they fall right off the hook. Lousy. Those hooks made in the United States of America. None of it's made in the United States of America today. I'm like, go out and find American-made ornaments. Can't go everywhere. Go to Target. Target is all China. I mean, God bless them, but all China. Let's go to Jane in Georgia, line 2. This U.S. Steel story is just. It puts a big smile on my face. I don't think Leo would probably like that, though, because steel must pollute too much for Leo. Jane.
Hey, Laura. So I just was so enthusiastic watching Trump at the Fayetteville rally. If you can't look at that crowd and see that everybody's going to be jumping on the Trump train soon, even if they weren't for him, it's just hope, optimism, pride, Americanism, patriotism. It's everything good that this country stands for, and he's bringing it back. And God bless him. I'm thrilled. I'm over the moon.
You know what? You know what I remember? I'm remembering all the naysayers who were just laughing at him. and ridiculing him day in and day out. Ridiculing him. John Kasich, Jeb Bush, Mitt Romney, ridiculing him. What did he say? He's a fraud. He's a phony in business. Mario Longhi doesn't seem to think that Trump's a fraud or phony. He seems to think that his policies are actually going to really grow his company. We see CEOs who are happy to be able to have American workers again, back in their own communities. Fraud or phony? I don't think so. That's amazing. Go back and really think about what was said about him. And the very people who are on television still tossing the occasional, lobbing the occasional tomato at Trump. When is the last time they were right about a major political issue? When is the last time? So it's always reminding ourselves, okay, she or he said this, but then on the major issues of the day, if I had to grade him or her on television, name your random Republican or Democrat strategist or analyst. When have they been right? In fact, they've been laughing at the populists, writing articles criticizing the populists, trashing the populists, and you're protectionist, you're anti-immigrant, saying all the things that Obama said. And now they're, oh, wow, it's great that some jobs coming back. But he can't keep doing this. He can't keep intervening. Well, I'd like to take a poll on that, what the American people think about jobs returning to the United States of America. 855-40-LAURA. Big news on the EPA front. The climate change people are going nuts. I can't imagine what old Leo thought. Does he read the stories about that? So we'll take a break. 855-40-LAURA. Joe in Florida, line 3. Joey, quickly.
Hello, Laura.
Hey.
Yes, just want to go straight to the point on your comments on people that went against Trump. I used to listen to Glenn Beck in the morning. Don't listen anymore. I'm so glad because I listen to you now, and it's so much more refreshing. Yeah, he's just doubling down on stupid, and I just shaking my head as to why he's still on the same page. And
yeah,
that's
sad.
Basically my comment there.
Well, it's sad.
Yeah.
I like Glenn. I always have. Don't know what's going on there. Don't know, but I'm really happy you're listening to the show. Thank you. And thank you for saying that. That makes me feel even happier, Joe. Makes me happier than I am right now. So thanks so much for those thoughts. We're going to take a break. We'll get to all your calls. Be patient. 855-40-LAURA. Do you sense more happiness in the air? And Ed Rollins, who's always happy, is going to join us next. Just a moment, we're going to talk to Ed Rollins. I know he's a big Leo fan. Well, what eats Gilbert Grape or that was the best movie, his first movie. When he's a little kid. He's a terrific actor, don't get me wrong. Randy in Nebraska, line 5. We did almost a whole hour on homelessness yesterday. What we could do all the time, but especially during the holidays. Thinking up new strategies for homelessness, how to not exacerbate the situation, the mental illness aspect of it. And we talked to a lot of people who had been homeless and people whose children or relatives are homeless and what they try to do to pull them out of that as adults. Randy, go ahead, my friend.
Hey, Laura, are you there?
Go ahead, my friend.
Hey, Laura, are you there?
Okay. Is this a dump? Let's go to Jeff in Arizona. Jeff, line 1.
Hello.
Hey, Jeffy, go ahead. What?
Hey, even the barflies are turning for Trump. Now, that is the biggest indication that he has turned the corner.
I noticed this yesterday at the I had to go meet somebody late yesterday in the afternoon for a meeting, and I noticed that in one of the classic D.C. establishments. I noticed at 3:45, it's a great place to have a meeting. I thought no one would be there. 3:45. Packed. People throwing back booze at 3:45. Oh my gosh. First of all, I really can't drink anything during the week anyway because I don't sleep. But packed. People were drinking at 3:45. Who are these people drinking at 3:45? Well, it's packed. Couldn't get. I was like, we can't even get a table to talk about anything. We had to leave and go in the lobby and talk. It's ridiculous. Joining us now, Ed Rollins, of course, director for Reagan Bush 84. and he has some thoughts on where Trump and his cabinet is going. We see General Kelly at Homeland Security. That's pretty cool. We have a situation where, is it a 4-star has to report to a 3-star? And so, there are people worried about the rankings. Who has to report to whom? He joins us now, and the news about U.S. Steel and Mario Longhi saying he could see bringing 10,000 jobs back to the United States with this new deregulatory environment we may be in with Trump. And he joins us now. Ed, Merry Christmas. Great to talk to you.
Merry Christmas to you. Happy day. I think the appointments the President-elect made have been fabulous. I'm a big advocate of the military. I've watched great leadership. As I've said repeatedly, I grew up in a Navy town. I've been around Marines all my life. If you get to be a 4-star general in the Marine Corps, you walk on water. Basically, you're a super stud. You've had to prove yourself over and over, not just in battlefields, but in the Pentagon and everywhere else. And I think these generals they're getting are superb. The bottom line is they all report to the President-in-Chief, the Commander-in-Chief, and they're used to that. They'll give him great counsel. We have been in the wars for 15 years. We've been in a war in the Homeland Security, the battlefront, the border front. General Kelly is fabulous. Mattis is fabulous. Flynn, obviously, who's the 3-star, basically, is the national security chief. What he does is he's sort of the referee between the State Department and the Pentagon. He knows both well. So I couldn't be more pleased. I think he's got a great cabinet.
Well, General
Kelly.
I
chuckle at is,
go ahead.
About a month, 6 weeks ago, when it didn't look like Trump was going to win, everyone says, well, even if he wins, no one's going to serve in his administration. Well, he certainly has shown that.
Oh, great point.
Country. And this is as distinguished a cabinet as anybody you've seen in modern times.
Yeah,
So
General John
pleased.
Kelly, for people who aren't familiar with him, 40 years in the military, career service. He retired earlier this year, and he led the U.S. Southern Command. He oversaw all of our military operations in Central and South America. And he testified last year before the Armed Services Committee that the human smuggling routes in Central and South America were potentially huge vulnerabilities to the United States, national security implications of our open border, and was adamant about that. That this, if we're going to send people overseas to enforce other countries' borders, why are we not enforcing our own? He also lost his son. Very sad. His son was killed in a roadside bomb in the Helmand province, where so many of our great servicemen and women paid the ultimate price. But there's something I think also in today's society, Ed, where there are I think there are precious few institutions that still, I think, call for real respect and get the respect that they deserve. And the military is still high on people's lists of respect and I think gratitude.
Well, as it should. I mean, I go back to the point I made earlier. I mean, we've been in combat for 15 years now, and you don't see the military protesting. You've seen a lot of missed signals from the administration, but they go out and they do what they're asked to do every day. They give good counsel. Several of these generals, their counsel was disregarded by the Obama administration, and I think to a certain extent they will find a new administration that will basically listen to them, give them their instructions, let them go forth and finish this thing once and for all, if that's the determination of the president. So I could not be more pleased. People say to me, "Oh, we're getting too many generals." You never complain about too many congressmen being in the cabinet. You never complain about too many businessmen being in the Congress. I'll take a 4-star general any day against any CEO in America.
Yeah, and Ed, you think about people saying, well, Ben Carson has no experience managing a bureaucracy or a department like housing and urban development. What's his experience in housing and urban development? These are the very people who thought Obama was going to be, the greatest because
right.
he was a 1-year, 2-year senator and worked in the state legislature, was a visiting lecturer at the University of Chicago. That was his great experience.
And I'm very pleased with Ben Carson. He's a man who has inspired.
Terrific.
He had great public support when he ran for president. He will tackle the problem. I have to tell you, I've been around HUD a great deal. I was very close to Jack Kemp when he was the HUD secretary. I promise you, attacking a deficient brain and doing brain surgery is a lot more complicated than running HUD. And obviously Dr. Carson was one of the great surgeons of all time. So this is a brilliant man. This is a very, very empathetic man. It's not exactly like it's complicated to figure this thing out. It's just a question of having the will, the interest. And I think he'll be an inspirational person. And I think just as he's been. So I'm pleased with that appointment.
Yeah.
Too.
If someone can actually master neurosurgery on the child's brain, somehow I think he can figure out the pitfalls and the challenges of the Department of Housing and Urban Development. It's just craziness, the criticism.
I couldn't agree with you more. And just they're going to nitpick. Obviously, the new EPA administrator is the Attorney General of Oklahoma.
Pruitt.
And very
Scott
distinguished. And I think to a certain extent the environmentalists will come out against him full bore, but at the end of the day, he understands the issues well. It comes from an oil and gas state. He understands the fossils. So I think Linda McMahon is a great choice. People don't know a lot about Linda. People in Connecticut.
Small Business Administration.
She built a gigantic entertainment industry. It's an $8 billion company. It began with nobody. I think they had 13 employees. They now have hundreds and hundreds. Just an inspirational leader. So I think the choices are fabulous, and just have a couple more to go here in the big jobs.
Yeah.
There's a lot of smaller jobs that have to be filled.
What's your sense on the Secretary of State intrigue? It's been going on for weeks, and that's fine. I mean, I don't think there's any problem with that, but it's certainly some interesting figures in there.
Yeah, and I think that he is, rather than make a quick choice, I'm a Giuliani guy, so I'd like to see him get the job, and I think he deserves the job. But there certainly has been a distinguished cast of characters that he's looked at, and I think it's been a learning process as much as anything else. But my sense is at the end of the day, I'm waiting to see who he puts in as his press secretary. I understand there was a beautiful blonde in there being interviewed the other day, so that's my hope.
Well,
I missed you. I was doing Varney when you were doing Fox and Friends, and I ran down the hall after you, but you got out the door.
Oh shucks, I missed you. How's that happen? What was it like in the Reagan White House? I talked to Buchanan about this a little bit because he was communications director. The jobs and the responsibilities of the West Wing, they can be changed by any president, right? You're not wedded to the previous dynamic.
No. There's certain. The top level is the assistant to the president. I think there's about 8 or 10 of those. They oversee areas. I had the political and the intergovernmental. Pat and I were colleagues. As a matter of fact, Pat used to write these brilliant scathing memos and get me to sign them. So someday when they're all released, we were called the Mad Bombers by the Wall Street Journal. So
I love it.
That was a soulmate. Well, we thought there were a lot of things we could have done. Sort of clean up the problems in the Middle East at that point in time. But George Shultz reminded us on several occasions that we were not the Secretary of State, the Secretary of Defense. But we might have had it over quicker.
Yeah, exactly. I want that.
I said,
go ahead.
I think the cast of characters we have now are going to be very strong leaders, and that's the key. What occurs is the White House, basically, and the ones I've been in, have taken very much control of much of the government. So those players have not been laid out yet. I'm a big Steve Bannon fan. I think he's tremendous.
Love him.
I think what they have done to him is outrageous.
Oh, it's horrible.
Absolutely outrageous, without a bit of evidence. And I think to a certain extent, as I said on Lou Dobbs last night, as much as well for Trump, if Bannon hadn't come in and run the operational side of that and execute a brilliant strategy, he would not be president today. I give Kellyanne great credit for being a great spokesperson and a great pollster, but it was really Bannon that made it all happen. And obviously, he's a guy I'd always want in the trenches with me. And I think what they can't get to Trump today, but they're sure going to try and beat up on the people that. And I imagine Pruitt will be the next big target that they'll go after because of the environmental concerns.
Yeah, Ed, it's so funny. See, I've been around for a long time in politics and the media. So I'm used to all this, but a lot of the folks who are new to this, like, oh, doesn't this bother you? And I was like, it does bother me. I howl laughing at what these 25-year-old reporters for some .com are up to. And so I found out that this kid who works for CNN, Chris Massey, God bless him, I have no idea who he is, but he was up at Dartmouth, Ed, going through old issues of the Dartmouth Review, trying to well, see, she's anti-immigrant, or I don't know what they're trying. Like, she's anti-this, she's anti-this, because when she was 19, she was writing an article about this music professor. I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, we have real things to report on. We're going back to college newspapers.
Well, it's this gotcha mentality, and if you're going to serve an administration, Trump or Reagan or anybody else, you got to be a bad person as far as these liberals are concerned, as opposed to people with very strong ideology. And I think to a certain extent, I mean, you and I both evolved. I was a Kennedy Democrat when I started out 50 years ago, and I evolved. I became a Reagan Democrat, then I became a Kemp supporter, and I'm now a Trump supporter. I mean, it's an evolutionary process, and it's a thinking process. And I have a 21-year-old daughter who's a Hillary fan, and I keep trying to say,
God bless her.
Honey, oh, God bless you. And we have wonderful dialogues. We don't argue. We don't fight.
That's good.
And I think it's very important.
There's a lot of families. I have family members who are totally pro-Hillary and hate Trump. But you just can't. You have to put that aside. Family's family, and it's just you have to have a good conversation.
Right, that's especially important to acknowledge. I think one of the things that bothers me about this, this was a very tough election, and obviously a close election in the ultimate. And I think that there's a lot of hatred that's still out there. And at the end of the day, we're all Americans. We've got to make this thing work. He's our president for the next 4 years or beyond, and we've got to make this thing work. And my sense is he's going to do a superb job. So,
what do you think about the Romney deal? Now people are saying he's putting all these conservatives out there this week because next week he's going to announce Romney. What about that?
I would be disappointed if he appointed Romney, and it's not that I supported Romney last time. I did it like a lot of conservatives, reluctantly in the end of the day, but fully engaged. I think the disloyalty that he showed in being the leader of the anti-Trump pack was just above and beyond the call. He could have kept his mouth shut. He could have stayed in Boston or wherever, one of the 5 houses he lives in now. But he was very, very vocal and sort of led the anti-Trump brigade. And I think to reward him with one of the biggest positions in government without any real foreign policy experience, it's not like he's an expert on foreign policy, that I think to a certain extent when you just don't put people like Giuliani and Gingrich and others who stood there every day in the battle line, they were the establishment who fought the establishment to get Trump elected, I think they need to be rewarded.
God bless. Ed, you're just one of my favorite people, period. And
I appreciate that. I love you to death too, babe.
And you're just awesome. There's just the Reaganites, the originals are just the best. They're the best. What can I say?
Well, because we had a wonderful man. He was an inspiration to all of us.
He was, and to me, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing if it weren't for President Reagan. I think about him every single day. Have a Merry Christmas, Ed Rollins, to you and your family, even your liberal daughter. God bless her as well. We'll take a break. Don't go away. California flirts with breaking off from the United States on Life's Zet. First African-American president when you had a white mother. Is that really where we want to go 8 years later? We're still talking about the racial question with Obama. Obama is on his way out. He reached the pinnacle of what you can reach in American society. The pinnacle is the presidency. He became president of the United States with almost no experience, but with an amazing campaign that propelled him forward with a poster and his ability on the stump to be, he was a really good campaigner, great speaker. When he's on the teleprompter, it's not when you take away the uhs when he's talking off the cuff, his speech is like 5 minutes long. But on the teleprompter, when he's in that mode, he's good. And he was great, a great campaigner. Can't take it away from him. He has a nice way about him on stage, I think. If you're a Democrat, it's not going to get much better than Obama. It's just a campaigner in the moment. People get happy. They laugh. They applaud him. They like him. I'm being really charitable, but that's true. I really believe that Republicans needed more people like Obama just with the campaigning talent. Trump had it. Oh, you bet. Trump had it. He has that special zing. And Bush, to some extent, had it. Reagan, obviously. Had it. But most people don't have it. He had it. But when I'm interviewing Obama, if I get a chance to interview Obama, talking about the one drop rule is really not what I would be asking him about. I'd be asking him about how he would rate his performance and what did you really learn about the American people? What did you really learn? in 8 years and really find out if he learned much of anything. Maybe he did and he's not talking about it, but the last thing I would talk to Obama about is the fact that he's half white and half black. But these CNN people just obsess on that. Maybe talk about how you bring people together 8 years later when they're so divided. Maybe that I'd talk about. Inner city, why do we still have such crime? Why do we have such division? Why do we have such a family breakup? What can we do to keep families together? I'd talk about that. But the fact that he's half black, half white, why are we talking about that? How is that relevant to his legacy? Is it? And that brings us to Barack Obama's, perhaps, final deep thought of his presidency. To diagram the sentence as he was saying it. I'm not sure I could actually diagram that sentence. If you're in California today, and you're kind of the old surfer dude, blonde hair, blue eyes, some parts of California, you're the minority now. So will there be a new type of music that emerges from that minority standing? Could. You're in a school that has 40% immigrant, mostly Hispanic, many English is not their primary language, and you're like a kid who decided you had to move there from West Virginia. Imagine that. That'd be a hilarious reality show. Oh my gosh, that would be funny. But I will say this: he is right about the tradition of music in the United States. Out of the horrible oppression of slavery came great gospel music, great family values, and the incredible music that ended up turning into, of course, jazz, and before that, folk and jazz, and then move on to rhythm and blues, the blues. There's a lot of, the blues come out of oppression and depression. And so he's right about that to that extent. But the obsession, was there anything, do we have to keep talking about Fareed Zakaria? You guys are killing me here. This is Christmas. Is there anything else that they said? Oh, God, James said yes. Okay. Do I have to introduce it, or can I just play it? All right. Let's just play it and I'll react. Go ahead.
I think there's a reason why attitudes about my presidency among whites in northern states are very different from whites in southern states.
What?
So, are there folks whose primary concern about me has been that I seem foreign, the other? Are those who champion the birther movement, feeding off of bias? Absolutely.
So he's asked about the attitudes about him, whether they're really based in race. Let me unpack that for you here on the Laura Ingraham Show. Barack Obama's blaming the criticism of him on racism. If you think he was not a success as a president, somewhere inside you, especially if you're from one of those southern states, Southerners, then there's something about you that is racially intolerant at the very least. Or it's just the vestiges of old racism that you can't shake off no matter how you try. White privilege, yes, it's white privilege. That's what he's really saying. That's what Eric Holder said when he was talking about the criticism of Obama a few years back, that a lot of it is based in the fact that he looks different from everyone else. He's, quote, foreign. In many states in the United States, it's not. He doesn't look foreign. How does he look foreign at all? How many of you believe that the overriding concern about Obama is a racial concern? I've said repeatedly that I wish Obama was a conservative with his ability to campaign the way he campaigns and the way he struts out on stage even when the news is bad and he acts like he just won lotto. We need a conservative African American who can campaign as well as Obama. That'd be phenomenal. That's why I always said I wish Obama was a Republican. It'd be fabulous. The way he was brought up. He just grew up in a obviously left-wing household. His mom was a left-winger, and hey, I get that. Dad wasn't present, and I understand that. But the idea that the criticism of Obama is racial, this has been set up by a lot of his surrogates, though. This was set up. So why am I bringing this up? Because historians are going to write the history of this administration, the Obama administration. And don't you think he's priming the pump here? So criticism of where we are, let's say in the foreign policy, or the economy didn't grow the way it needed to grow. We didn't see a 3% GDP ever, not one quarter in Obama. We saw it. When we had one quarter of 3.5% GDP. No, of course not. 70% of the country says we're going in the wrong direction. That they must be racist. What do you all think of you Southerners listening to the show? Can you hear that one more time, the Southerners? Just shorten that down a little bit. Charlie in Texas, line 2. Charlie, you heard it. Obama, well, you got to unpack it a little bit, but I think underneath it all, what he's saying is the criticism of him is based in some type of racial intolerance, especially the Southerners. And I'd throw Texas in there, of course, Southwest, but I'd throw Texas in there. Go ahead, Charlie.
Yes, ma'am. My question is, I agree with what you said about Barack Obama, but my question has to do with Clarence Thomas. How come he's not, into this? Why is the Smithsonian not allowing this man, a Supreme Court justice, for 25 years, not to what he's done, to be in the Smithsonian? I don't understand that. I'm 73 years old, and I think this man's done a fantastic job. And
Fabulous.
I know you called for him, so
I did.
I just need to. I'd like to have the explanation for that.
Well, you know why? You want to know the explanation? Here's the explanation. You're not really authentically black unless you're liberal. You're not, and you're not an authentic. Keep it going. You're not an authentic actor or actress in Hollywood today. You don't deserve respect if you're a Christian conservative. For the most part, you don't. You're ostracized. You're demeaned. You unless you're someone like a Mel Gibson who has so much power and he's had his own struggles, but he's come back from all his past troubles. But they tried to, he was dismissed for years, but he became a megastar, and then people knew he was fairly conservative. But with the exception of a few, like John Voight, you don't really count. If you're a young actor or actress today, and you're a Trump supporter, how many roles do you think you're going to get in Hollywood? How many? 0. Not going to get any roles. If you're a conservative, traditional African American in politics today, it's hard. It's really hard. Justice Thomas refused to grovel and beg for their acceptance. He's his own man. He's his own thinker. That is an affront to the far left African American establishment that pushes the history on our kids and that attempts to cement our historical understanding. Absolutely. Hey, that's why they're not going to put him in the Smithsonian. Do you think Justice Thomas is going to get support from Barack Obama? If you're going to basically say that white Southerners are racist and that's why they don't support you, if that's really what you're getting at there, why aren't you standing up for Justice Thomas? Why aren't you standing up for him? Where are the African Americans? Where's Al Sharpton standing up for Justice Thomas? He's not authentically black because he doesn't buy into the victim status mentality that they've been cloaking themselves in for decades and getting rich off of for decades. That's why. You want to know why Justice Thomas is one of my closest friends? He's an amazing person and an amazing man. Has nothing to do with his race. It has everything to do with the person he is. I walk cross glass for him. That's what kind of a man he is. 855-40-LAURA. Why former Obama supporters voted for Trump this time around. And we'll get to your calls. 855-40-LAURA. Obama citing race again in one of his last CNN interviews. Don't go away. Everyone who is of color, if you're Southern and you're white, you must not like. Go ahead.
Oh, yes, ma'am. That's what they seem to believe, isn't it?
Unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. I'm 19. I've lived in South Carolina my whole life, and in my circle of friends and the people I interact with on a daily basis, not a single one of us has ever been displeased with Obama solely because of his skin color or his race. It's absurd. I'm disgusted. I cannot wait for this man to leave office.
You know what's interesting, Mason? I find that when I'm down in Beaufort, that area, and down in Louisiana, Georgia, I find the relations between the races much better in the South. Raymond says this all the time. Raymond's from New Orleans. He said, "It doesn't matter. We don't have some problems and to deal with, but it seems like the Northerners are all hung up on race. Down in the South, people have mixed and dealt with each other and socialized with each other for decades now, decades and decades and decades, and have a much better relationship. And it seems like the Northerners are so hung up on it. To me, and so I think Obama has it exactly backward in the understanding, but that's a stereotype. If there's bias, I think it's bias against white Southerners that we've seen sometimes coming from the left. You see it in Hollywood, the way they stereotype Southerners, especially, hey, if you're a Christian conservative, you might as well be burning crosses on people's lawns. And the way some of these Hollywood folks view you. It's hard. Look, everybody has work to do here. We all have work to do. I get it. But I don't like that. I don't like stereotyping people. And I think the political correctness is part of this. And I think, listen, that's a 19-year-old kid in South Carolina. They don't think about race. Young people aren't even thinking about race. They're just trying to figure out how we're going to get a job and pay back our student loans. Who's hung up on race anymore? Because some people there are true racists out there. I get that. But most people are just, we're beyond race. Trying to improve this country for everybody. Black, white, brown, wherever you're from. If you're here and you're an American citizen, playing by the rules, following the law, then I think the sky's the limit for you. But we got to get past this racial obsession we have. Crying about what's happened to the inner cities, crying about what happened to our police officers. Another one shot and killed a couple days ago. Assailant still on the run. There's a lot of things to cry about, but Van Jones is still crying about Obama and the inspiration of Obama. Well, when I think of Van Jones, you know who I think about? Michelle Malkin. You know why? Because Michelle Malkin, sorry, Michelle Malkin was one of the first people on to the corruptocrats in the Obama administration from day one, 2008, 2007, 2009, with her great books, her great commentary. She's must reading on every level. One of my old young friends. She looks younger somehow every year. It drives me crazy. She also now has her new show. It's on CRTV. It's called Michelle Malkin Investigates. And if I find out Michelle Malkin's investigating me, I'm hiding. Just no, thank you. I don't want to. I'll move to South America, change my name. Michelle Malkin is in the studio. I haven't seen you.
I know.
How are
happy
you?
Reunion and an early Merry Christmas present to see you.
It's
too,
so great
Laura.
to see you. And
what a year.
Oh my gosh, it's been crazy. Now, we've been talking about the racial conversation that seems to be picking up as Obama is ending his presidency. Some weeks left before Trump is inaugurated. And they're going back to the racial deal because, of course, still many people personally like Obama, but many view his presidency as less than successful, to put it kindly. And he was blaming implicitly race, saying a lot of the people in the South have these attitudes that are ingrained in a racial understanding. Does that surprise you that 8 years later we're going back to the race game?
No, it's the bread and butter. It is the bread and butter of the Obama administration and all of the left-wing radicals, most prominently Valerie Jarrett, who installed him at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And, I've been doing a lot of reflecting certainly on our years, you at Dartmouth and me at Oberlin.
Right. Oh my gosh, so liberal.
Right. The Berkeley of the Midwest.
Yep.
and the Berkeley of the Northeast for you. And everything that we learned on campus, think about it, has been the lifeblood of the Democratic Party and the fake hate crimes, the divisiveness, the extreme
rape culture,
the extreme identity politics. It's never going to go away. And, of course, as you're saying, in the lead up to President Trump taking office, I think we're going to see extremes as we've never seen them before.
Well, they have to come up with some narrative to explain the fact that we never did hit 3% growth.
That's right.
We never did have the return of the vibrancy of the manufacturing that we need for people who don't go to fancy colleges. We need those jobs. We need that excitement in a community of growth, and to keep families together, to keep men and women from having this sense of despondency and despair. There's a lot of despair out there, a lot of despondency, a lot of sadness, because there was a lot of job loss.
Yes.
And people didn't see, despite the hope poster, they didn't see hope.
Yeah, that's right. And what Donald Trump did was essentially lift up the rug so that people could see that. And the elites in the liberal media could not cover it up anymore. They couldn't cover up the fact that it wasn't just KKK extremists in the South who had gravitated toward Donald Trump's message. And, of course, looking at the post-election results and the bump that Donald Trump received that no other Republican establishment figure could have ever earned in terms of reaching out to those disaffected working-class blacks and Hispanics and Asian Americans.
He kept going back to those communities. And you and I have talked about this for so many years. You can't expect to win in communities where so much has failed, and where, frankly, white politicians don't feel comfortable going. Reagan was the last politician of his stature to really go into the Bronx. 2 weeks before the election, 1980, he was in the Bronx campaigning. He decided he was going to campaign everywhere. And, of course, the country was different. I get all that. But he won a historic victory because he campaigned for all of America. Trump tried to do that, and he was castigated for going into Detroit.
Right.
He was castigated. How dare you come into this community? But he did it, and I think you're going to continue to see him doing that. If I were advising him, I would say now is the time to grow this movement. Don't ever stop growing it, because they're going to try to poison the well, constantly undercut you in the very communities that need this resurgence. But he should keep doing it.
Yeah, and at the same time, of course, all credit to him for not demonizing the white working class and the white middle class. And, for example, all of those families who believed, as generations before them believed, that college was the key to getting a good job. And then, of course, so many of these families discovering, for example, that if they believed what people told them about getting into STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, and math, discovering that, in fact, it was American politicians and most prominently open borders Republicans that were stabbing in the back with expanded H-1B policies. Nobody had said that before Donald Trump in the way that he has. Having fired Disney workers campaigning for him, I hope he never forgets them, especially as he's getting ready to meet with Silicon Valley CEOs. And I was distressed, Laura, to see that Bob Iger of Disney is now advising him, and I hope that there are people keeping CEOs like that in check.
Well, I think that we have to see what happens here, because if he does what he said he was going to do, if the border is enforced, if these trade deals are renegotiated, which I think they're going to be, if he brings tax simplification and tax reform to the fore, this EPA choice, Scott Pruitt, is fabulous. He is a great person and a great guy. I think you're going to see a lot of growth. I think the country is going to get better. If he doesn't do these things, if he compromises away his core values, he'll be out in 4 years. People are very impatient right now. So, but it's the proof is going to be in the policies.
Yeah, that's right. And of course, having Jeff Sessions as Attorney General gives
awesome.
me so much relief and comfort. I have to tell you.
Chosen? I mean, this is like the Malkin Ingraham perfect choice. I mean, I'd have chosen Mattis. Mattis was my guy, right, Drew? Mattis in the beginning.
Yeah.
So Mattis at defense and Sessions at Attorney General. I mean, I was like, I've died and gone to heaven.
I really would have died and gone to heaven if it was Chris Kobach at DHS.
Yeah, I agree. I like Kobach a lot. He was my other guy. I agree. Is he deputy? Are we going to make him deputy? Or we don't know yet?
I hope he's in the top echelon of DHS.
I think he's going to be. That's my sense. To be. Yeah. No, he understands this better than most people.
He's been on the battlefield,
Love him.
Even long before Donald Trump was saying this. He was putting it into practice.
He was Trump before Trump on this issue,
there
right?
you go.
Michelle, tell us about. We're going to get calls. We're going to keep Michelle for the whole half hour. We're going to take your calls, questions, and comments about what we're seeing so far in this Trump cabinet. And a lot of people concerned about Romney. We're going to get into that. But tell us about your new show and where people can find it and what you want to do with this. Tell us about it.
CRTV.com.
Yep.
It is the latest entrant into subscription-based internet TV. And it's incredible what I'm allowed to do for this network, which is basically anything I want to.
I love it.
I've got a 1-hour in-depth investigative show. We've got 4 episodes that have been released this week, and I really get to do what I started out in my career. This is my 25th year in the news and opinion journalism.
She started when she was 8. Seriously, Michelle does not age. It drives me crazy.
I think it's the Filipino genes.
Yeah, but you don't have any wrinkles. God, I need some help on that regard.
Oh my gosh. And the intersection of race and criminal justice, education, immigration.
This is your wheelhouse.
It really is. We've got a show on EB5, the Citizenship for Sale visa scam.
Outrage.
And we go to Vermont, where progressive Bernie Sanders has basically ripped off rural Vermont, hardworking Americans.
Rutland, Vermont is one of the places where it's getting hit hard by the refugees. Rutland, Vermont. Liberals now suddenly not so liberal when they're seeing what's happening in Rutland.
Exactly
right near Dartmouth, by the way. I know it well.
It is a double, triple whammy there. Yeah. We've got a show on Black Lives Matter curriculum in the schools, which we've got David Clark commenting for us on what's going on there. The overt anti-police bias in these textbooks that are now reaching our kids, subsidized by our tax dollars.
We got to get rid of all this. This is all got to. We're going to take a break. Michelle's going to stay with us. CRTV.com, her great new investigative show, and they can watch all 4.
Yeah, that's right. Binge watch it during the holidays.
Wait a second, you dump them all at once so people can just sit there and feast on Michelle's investigative reports for hours and hours. This is what they do on Netflix. They just drop them all at once. I think you got to tease it just one after the other. But I get what you're doing. CRTV.com. We're going to take a break. Michelle Malkin investigates. Make sure to check it out. Michelle's going to stay with us. Your calls. Do you think race relations are better after 8 years of Obama? Are they worse? And if so, why? Who deserves some of the blame? And what can we do better? Don't go away.
What did you like about Obama? And then what did you like about Trump?
I think Obama represents a lot of love. Yeah. And I think that he's a good man, and he did all he could. And we supported him for 2 elections.
Yeah.
And then when those changes really didn't come about, and Obamacare actually affected me personally with my own mother, I think we needed a change once again. Mm-hmm. Trump seemed to come through here, and he's speaking change again. So I think we still voted for change.
And Michelle, when I see the poisonous attitude that has been fomented in some inner city areas toward the police, it's scary. It's scary, and it's so sad and upsetting. What do we do? What do we do as Americans to try to put an end to this?
Well, I think, first of all, it takes a lot of moral courage. You see with the social justice mob and these witch hunts that people essentially put their lives on the line, and certainly our men and women in blue are at the forefront of that. There has been a 167% increase in police assassinations since 2014 alone.
God.
And, of course, Dallas and Baton Rouge were at the forefront of that, but it seems now you open up the newspapers
almost every day.
And of course, right in Atlanta, we had another one. There's still a fugitive there. We have the case of the Walter Hunt situation in North Carolina, and then another of our shows. Really, Laura, I consider this the most important story I've covered in 25 years. The first 2 episodes involve Daniel Holtzclaw, the former Oklahoma City police officer. You might remember the fleeting headlines from a year ago this week when the verdict came out. He was convicted of a series of alleged sexual assaults and sentenced to 263 years behind bars. I believed he was guilty like everybody else did because of the sheer number of accusers. And the first 2 episodes go in depth. I've traveled to Oklahoma City. This case has consumed me over the last several months. People have asked, well, where have you been? And I believe it is the most massive miscarriage of justice, and it fits perfectly into this theme that we're talking about, because we put up a billboard for CRTV in Oklahoma City that merely asked, quote, what if he didn't do it? And the social justice mob yanked it, forced the billboard company to take it down. Just for asking questions.
Unbelievable. So is it the first 2 episodes?
2 episodes available now.
Okay, so CRTV.com. We almost out of time, James. What the heck? We need another hour. This is ridiculous. It's absurd. Michelle Malkin, it's always so great to see you, and have a Merry Christmas, and Let's go ski together this winter, can we?
And snowboard too, okay?
Okay, the snowboarders are always...
Our kids will love that, right?
Okay, all right. Well, we're coming out and visiting you I threaten it every year, but I'm coming this year. I am coming, and we're going to go skiing together, and you're just fabulous. We love you.
Have a blessed Christmas and Happy New Year, and thank you for everything you do for this country, Laura.
Back at you. God bless you. We'll take a break. Don't